Our time in Spartanburg has come to an end. The team is now in Charlotte getting ready for the second preseason game. Shelby Granath here with Cassie, Calvert, and Cliff Brown. And guys, it was 2 really hot days of practice, but also 2 very productive days of practice.
Certainly, and Coach Harbaugh and all the guys talked so much about this week, about how much of a learning experience it really is. Calais Campbell talked about how he and other vets, for them, this will be the best action they see all preseason during training camp. They got a lot of live reps against some different competition, and he said it's good to see guys whose tendencies you don't already know. The Ravens offense they see in practice every day, so going against a different offense gives them a great opportunity to make adjustments as they go throughout a practice like they would in a game situation. And again, the heat, that was a big topic all week. I love J.K. Dobbins. He was like, I'm from Texas. This isn't hot. I got this. But for most of us, it was quite hot and humid, so that was definitely something that they had to adjust throughout the week as well.
Yeah, no question. I thought it was some really good work for a lot of younger guys. We have a lot of wide receivers, unfortunately, who are injured. I thought James Prochet, one of the guys who stood out. I thought Lamar, obviously, for him, this is really good after missing the first 10 days of practice to get some live reps against another team. We don't know how much we're going to see Lamar, if at all, during the preseason. So for him, I thought this was really good. To me, he looks on schedule now, and I think this is going to really help him.
Cliff, you mentioned a name that keeps coming up, but because he keeps making plays. James Prochet is just having an outstanding training camp, and he was out there making some fabulous catches this week.
Yeah, all the reps that James wants and more have been there because so many wide receivers are missing. And we've talked about the Ravens passing game all through the offseason and going into training camp, them wanting to take a step up. He definitely has. He's a guy who didn't have this type of work last year with the pandemic, missing the off-season stuff for the first-year rookies. Now with this being this second year, to me, he's one of the players who's benefited most from all of this since 02As. And to see him making plays against other defensive backs, I think leads to him, the next step is doing it in the games.
And that's what they've been asking him to do, right? Okay, now you have other competition. Let's see you make plays. And he's answered all of those questions, So the next step is in-game action this regular season. And it's so cliche, but you love to see, he's the first guy out there every day on the jugs, and we always see first guy in, last guy out. But that holds true for a reason, So you really can't ask for much else from him at this point.
Now, another guy who's trying to get more involved in the passing game is running back J.K. Dobbins. He's looked good throughout camp, and he just talked about how much his confidence is growing in this pass game.
Yeah, he talked about all offseason. That was a huge focus for him, and it's clearly paying off. He said that he can create mismatches that way for the Ravens offense, and he will become a huge part of that if he can. Obviously a huge staple of the running game already, and he talked about how ready he thinks they're going to be week 1. As the offensive line gets healthy, they get all their pieces back together, that Ravens running game is always something that we love to see. We never really worry about that one.
Yeah, certainly Dobbins in these 2 workouts. Another running back on the field, Christian McCaffrey of the Panthers, he's kind of the standard bearer of being that back that J.K. Dobbins wants to be, a guy who you throw the ball to, can hurt you that way. You give it to him running the ball, he hurts you that way. Dobbins, I think, is on his way to being that type of player. He certainly has that type of talent, and I think it was good, and to me it was interesting to watch both of them on opposite fields doing similar things. So, yeah, again, an experience like this for Dobbins, a young player, can only help him.
We've talked a lot about the offense, but what about the defensive side of the ball? Who stood out to you these last 2 days?
Well, Cassie mentioned Calais Campbell. To me, a guy who's played that long, how much enthusiasm he brings to a practice when it's 90 degrees is really the ultimate of being a professional. And I also thought it was interesting that he said if the season started tomorrow, he's ready. So to me, that sends a message to everyone that if Calais is ready, you better get in the line and follow. And I thought the defense, particularly the first joint practice, played very well. The secondary, Marlon Humphrey, he was on the sidelines watching but wasn't playing. I thought, Marcus Peters is so competitive. Anthony Avert would start for most teams. He looked like a starter out there playing opposite Peters. I think that the Ravens defense kind of got the best of the Panthers in these 2 days, and that's a good sign to see going into the season.
You just love to see Derek Wolfe, Brandon Williams, and Calais Campbell out there together. The Monstars. Any offense has to be quaking in their boots when those guys walk out there. And I thought Chris Westry, too, again, he keeps making plays. He's really shown out there in the secondary, especially with some of the absences that we've had. So I'm excited about this Ravens defense for sure.
Marlon currently on the sideline. We mentioned those wide receivers, but one guy who we did get to see out there, limited reps, was Ronnie Stanley, and it was just really good to see him out there these last 2 days.
Yeah, he's looked back to Ronnie Stanley form. Coach Harbaugh said that he had great work out there today. You know, he said he's probably able to kind of get more work now. They'll build him back up, but hopefully he'll be ready to go week 1.
Yeah, Ronnie out here against guys who you know aren't going to take it easy on him is a great sign. That lets you know the Ravens feel that he's ready. They're not worried about having him in this type of action. Now, he didn't go the full way, which I think is understandable. And again, he's another guy like Lamar. You don't know how much you're going to see of Ronnie during the preseason. But as Cassie mentioned, he's an all-pro. He looked like it. I think that all the concern that we've had about, the offensive line, getting Ronnie Stanley back on Lamar's left side or blind side is really going to be the focal point of how you build everything else around it. So, yeah, it's major to me that Ronnie's back in full uniform and able to go.
All right, fans, we've turned our attention to the Panthers game on Saturday. We know you have too, so we will see you Saturday night in Charlotte.